As I mentioned earlier, the Israeli military launched a counterattack against Iran this morning, striking a military base near the city of Isfahan. The attack marks Israel's first military response to Iran's largely ineffective missile and drone barrage last weekend. The reportedly small scale of Israel's attack has many asking if both sides are seeking to de-escalate the conflict. Joining me now from Jerusalem with an update is CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. Chris, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be with you, Joseph.
Well, Chris, what's the mood on the ground hours after this response from Israel to Iran's attack?
Well, Joseph, I would say a bit of relief right now. Israel has gone ahead and responded to what happened just about a week ago, a historic large, probably the largest in history, the 350 projectiles, cruise missiles, drones, suicide drones, as well as ballistic missiles. So Israel, everybody here knew that Israel had to respond somehow. And the way it has seems to be measured, seems to be sending a message that Israel can't allow Iran to strike at Israel without some sort of response. But it seemed to be calculated in such a way, Joseph, that that it wouldn't put Iran in a losing face, and it wouldn't be put Iran in a position that it would have to respond. So both nations, I think, Israel and Iran, feel like maybe this is the end of this particular round, and I would say cautiously. But one other thing that's been noted over here, Joseph, is that for the first time in 45 years, there's been a shadow war between Israel and Iran. Last week, that war became into the light and out of the shadows, and now Israel's responding. They've crossed some sort of a Rubicon. What it looks like going forward, we'll have to wait in the next few days, weeks, and months.
And I want you to say a bit more about that shadow war. As you mentioned, Iran has been operating against Israel largely through Hamas and Hezbollah. I understand 90% of their funding comes from Iran. So they've been engaging in this for a while. What is the significance, do you think, of the fact that Iran finally decided to launch a direct assault from their home territory against Iran, or against Israel, rather?
Well, obviously, the pretext seemed to be on April 1st when presumably or reportedly Israel attacked a consulate that really was more of a military base there in Damascus, feeling they had to respond somehow. They responded, and some people think might have been a strategic blunder because, and what some people over here, Joseph, are calling a miracle, 99% of those projectiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and suicide drones were shot out of the air, either by F-35s, F-16s, and F-15s, as well as the Arrow 3, the Iron Dome, and David Sling. So for whatever reason, Iran decided that it had to respond to that attack on April 1st, but it really kind of exposed some of its weaknesses. And it also served to show the strength of Israel's anti-missile defenses, as well as the cooperation between many nations here in the region, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, as well as Western allies like France, the UK, and of course, the United States. And that coalition really seemed to be blunt this historic attack by Iran just about a week ago.
Yeah. Now, it seems, based on Israel's response and the way they chose to respond, that they are okay with de-escalating this. And it seems as well that Iran is going to be fine with that as well. But when we go back to that attack that Iran launched against Israel, do you think they were surprised by how successfully Israel was able to neutralize their attack? Because presumably, when you attack somebody, you don't attack somebody for the purpose of de-escalating something. But their state of mind right now seems to be, we're not looking for all-out war with Israel. So is there any sense in which Iran kind of expected a successful defense against their assault, and they just wanted to do this to kind of send a message?
Well, some people have postulated that, but I think a number of people here say it was actually 60 tons of explosives combined in all those ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and suicide drones. And that's a hard sell if you're trying to actually have somebody defend against that. It could have been a disaster. And as I said before, many people are considering what happened last week a miracle. People last Saturday night were expecting literally the apocalypse, maybe the beginning of World War III or regional war.
Right.
And by the morning, they were all deciding, well, do I go back to work or not? So it really was an amazing display of defense. I would add as well, Joseph, that the message that Israel was sending today, I think, was twofold. First of all, Iran cannot attack Israel, especially the way they did, without some sort of response. And the other message was the attack came very close to an Iranian nuclear facility. Isfahan and Natanz is not too far away as well. And that sends a message to Iran that if Israel wants to attack their nuclear facilities, they can do that. In addition to that, Joseph, it seems like they penetrated what's called the S-300, which is a Russian air defense system. And it seems like Israel was able to penetrate that as well, which sends another strategic message, not only to Iran, but the region as well.
Well, meanwhile, Israel continues their war against Hamas in Gaza. Is the actions, the kind of interactions, the conflict with Israel recently having any impact on what Israel is doing strategically against Hamas?
Exactly. And this is part of the message, too. It seems, Joseph, that because the response was measured and did not, presumably so far, provoke a regional conflict or a direct conflict between Israel and Iran, that right now Israel can go down into the Gaza Strip and eliminate perhaps the last Hamas stronghold in the Gaza Strip in Rafah. And not only perhaps eliminate or capture the leaders of Hamas, as well as perhaps rescue as many of the hostages as they can. So I think there was a calculation. Israel, we don't necessarily want a major war with Iran right now. We want to take care of Hamas and the Gaza Strip, then maybe turn their attention to the north to Hezbollah. But I would add this, Joseph, your prayer for in May 19th is so needed. Prayer right now for Israel is one of the main weapons of their spiritual Iron Dome that they need from Christians around the world.
That's exactly right. And Chris, maybe in about 10 seconds, do you think their kind of constrained response against Iran will affect the way the international community is looking at and treating Israel in their conflict against Hamas?
Very much so. And I think that was part of the calculus as well. I think the U.S. and Europe didn't want a major response. So I think that helped strengthen that international coalition on behalf of Israel.
Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your time.
Great to be with you, Joseph.